Hey Ryan, do you know what N.W.A stands for?
I believe I do, but I don't think I should say it. So we just left the screening of Straight Outta Compton, and I think we both were surprised that was actually a good movie.
Right, it was.
So this movie is about the group N.W.A. and how they emerged from the streets of Compton, California in the mid-1980s and revolutionized the hip-hop culture with their music and tales about life in the hood. And we follow Eazy-E, Ice Cube, and Dr. Dre on their path.
So Straight Outta Compton has 3 parts to this movie. It is a little bit lengthy and a little bit more in-depth than I thought that it was going to be, but basically there's 3 stages that take place in this movie.
Yeah, this rap epic that is like kind of billed as, you have the origin story of N.W.A., the breakup of N.W.A., their solo careers and what the paths that they take, and then you have the where are they now and leading up to like what leads them to the path that they get on.
It's kind of like a behind the music on steroids.
Yes, and I felt that this movie had a lot of momentum going through the first whole like act and even like through the second act. I thought it kind of like tinkered out at the third act. Kind of fell flat for me.
Yeah, the first act was really good. It set up the origin. It made you care about all of the characters that were in there. I cared a lot more than I thought I would, to be honest, going into this. Wasn't that familiar with the people that were in N.W.A. I knew who Ice Cube was. I knew who Dr. Dre was, and somewhat familiar with Eazy-E. But I just only had that basis of knowledge. But they did a good job of setting it up and explaining the characters and why this band was important not only to them but to a lot of people.
Yeah, and I mean they revolutionized hip hop, which is really cool, and they showed the aspect of the effect that they had on the community around them and the scene of that time.
Yeah, the first part of the movie, not only were they setting up the characters, but they were also explaining sort of a lot of the racial tensions that they were going to keep going back to throughout the movie. So they were setting up that a lot of that was the inspiration behind a lot of the rap lyrics and the band itself.
I was really impressed with Paul Giamatti, who comes in as the manager for the group. He's always great, though. It's Paul Giamatti. He definitely plays the crooked or sleazy manager role really well in this film.
Yeah, so while we're talking about acting, I definitely agree there. Paul Giamatti was really good in this movie. I kept going back to the fact that I don't think that any of the actors in this really stood out too terribly much. They all did a good job.
Other than Ice Cube's son looking just like Ice Cube. Like, at one point I'm like, is that Ice Cube?
They all looked like who they were supposed to, which was nice. I wouldn't say any of the acting was terribly memorable. I don't think that in 5 years we're going to remember this movie. I think a large part of that is going to be because none of the acting was especially spectacular. The story was great, but it was never really driven home.
It was compelling, and I didn't know much about the band and the group, and I had no idea how like what happened to Eazy-E, and that's how he died. Actually, I knew he was not with us now, but that was surprising to me.
Ryan, he's always with me.
I wonder how much of this film is actually factual. I mean, Dr. Dre goes on like a hot pursuit like race through downtown LA, and I was like, does this really happen with helicopters and the cop cars? I don't know.
Yeah, there's a lot of really long, heartfelt, well-articulated monologues that took place within this group of people that were basically, coming from Compton. And I don't know, it was funny. Sometimes I was like, is this a movie about rappers from Compton, or is this an off-Broadway? Because it sort of kind of went back and forth between the realness of it and, trying to portray the drama behind it all.
What really worked for me was the camera work in this movie. I was so surprised. There's a lot of like continuous takes, and you'll notice it when you watch this film that the camera kind of like swoops around the environment while they're producing music and go into the booth and come out of the booth and are back around Dr. Dre. Stuff like that really keeps me engaged, and I turned to you twice and I was like, man, this camera work is really awesome. Like, it's really well done. And I looked up the guy that did this camera work, did Black Swan, he did some other good really movies, so really good talent behind this.
And for me, so I had some criticisms with this. It was a really good movie, but there's a few shortcomings that it does have. One of which is going to be that it's a little long. There was a lot of parts that could have been cut out for sure. They had a lot of rappers that everybody knows, and I'm not going to give away any spoilers, but they put in a lot of rappers making appearances towards the end, and it sort of just became like the Avengers of rappers. Like, they had just had like all these superhero
Gotta
forces.
collect them all. Hey, you know this guy? He came from this group too. Like,
right.
We signed him.
So that was one thing. And the other one was I found a lot of holes in the exposition of the story with it. There was a lot of times where I kind of wasn't keeping with it towards the middle and towards the end. The beginning was really good, and then it just kind of got a little sloppy towards the end for me.
I agree. Do you know that the original cut for this film is 3 hours and 30 minutes? So they had to cut out an hour, and like it still felt long. I couldn't imagine what they had. They decided to nix. So I could have did with this movie being about 2 hours. Because at the 2 hour mark, I was like, okay, still trucking along.
I didn't feel like I was getting bored with it, but I definitely felt at the end like, what's happening here? Why is this going?
Why are we like it moves so far past the group, which is like this movie's billed as the story of N.W.A. And we get so far away from that.
Well, it goes into Death Row Records and Aftermath, and it starts spinning into like 50 different directions, which are all valid to them, but I feel like it could have been a little bit more concentrated.
As far as biopics go, this is a pretty decent one, and it might not be remembered in a few years from now, but it tells the story it wants to tell, and it does it well. Believe a memory, no one will be forgetting. So as I leave, believe I'm starving, but when I come back, boy, I'm coming straight out of Compton.
Okay, for me, this movie was very good with moments of being exceptional. Definitely got a little bit long in the tooth for me, but overall, I enjoyed it, and I'm going to give it 7 reels out of 10.
I'm going to come in a little lower than you. I thought the camera work was great. I thought that the characters that were in this were compelling. It loses its footing in the last act and halfway through the middle. So for that reason, I'm going to give this 6 out of 10 reels. And this has been our review of Straight Outta Compton.
If you like this review, make sure you like and subscribe down below. And let us know what you thought about the movie.
This has been The Real Report.